Robyn, thanks for joining us today. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I'm Michael Maloney. Thank you for the follow on social.
Me too.
Oh, yeah, of course.
On tweets by Diane.
So back when you were on daytime, I'm sure it was all magazines and the internet was just in its infancy. Can you talk a little? Was One Life to Live your first major credit?
Well, I started acting when I was 3.
Mhm.
So I did like the Broadway tour of Gypsy. I played Annie for years. And
Oh, wow.
so I had a lot of theater that I did. I did Miss Moffat with Ginger Rogers. So I had a lot of theater credits that were really big. And then I was on Nickelodeon and had commercials. But as far as like a series or a soap opera, the soaps were like the first big TV thing.
Well, they were such a huge thing in New York back in the day. I mean, everyone watched them. Do you have memories of your screen test and who you read opposite, or were there any other actresses that you knew up for the role?
My first screen test for One Life to Live, now that's an interesting story because what happened was I went in, I auditioned. There were all these like beautiful people around, models and stuff. And I was this girl from Lancaster, Pennsylvania, just coming in there and went in and my mother drove me in and that was 4.5 hours. And I auditioned and, just was me and left. And while we were driving back to Pennsylvania, apparently someone called and left a message, get her back in here. We want to screen test her tonight. Well, back in those days, we didn't have cell phones. So we drove the whole way home. And so that's an 8-hour trip for my mother, 9 hours almost. And basically she said, when we got home, she called my dad at work and she said, you're driving her back. You're the one. So sure enough, my dad drove me back and I screen tested. And I remember that was a Friday and they said they would let me know by Monday. Well, that's a long time for me to wait. I don't have patience. So all weekend I was just a nervous wreck. And then Monday came and my manager called my mother and father and said, well, first of all, she made it sound like I didn't get the role. Like, and she had them going because my mom's like, oh, okay, well, I'll put Robyn on the phone so you can tell her. And I'm like, oh, great. All that driving for nothing. But I ended up getting the role, and originally Stephanie on One Life to Live was a recurring role. She was not supposed to be really on that much. But it turns out that as the character kind of progressed and I started crying more on cue, then Stephanie turned out to be Stephanie and decided to kill Carlo, I guess. That's it. And the Ricky Paul Golden story is I flew from LA. I screen tested the next morning and I was a nervous wreck. And included in my screen test, Maggie the whole time was going to sing. The character, it wasn't created for me to start singing. It was the character originally was going to sing, and that was kind of the tie-in with the Dean and Jenna storyline.
Oh, right. Yeah. That video.
So, yeah. So I sang You Don't Bring Me Flowers and did the scene with Ricky, and he was wonderful because he could tell I was nervous and just kind of, I don't know. I didn't really know the lines that well, to be honest, even though you go over them and over them and over them. And I have a pretty good memory. I was just I was a mess. And I think, flying and then you're staying in a strange place. And so all in all, it worked out, I guess.
I would say so. You did.
Maggie was the daughter of Sandy and Cecile was kind of like the Abby Ewing or the really Dorian Lord antagonist character on the show. Did you work much with Nancy Frangione or Chris Rich, who played your dad?
My opening, well, I didn't even know I was related to them originally.
Right.
The character's name was Joy Lamont. They didn't decide until after I already was there that I was going to actually truly be tied into that sort of thing. And I remember how they did it. I went to the set the very first day, and before I didn't even get on camera. I mean, I arrived there like around 5:36 in the morning. I didn't get on camera until 2:30 a.m. almost. Because they were shooting something. Anytime they're shooting like a funeral or a wedding or something, it is an all day thing. And they were shooting something that day. So during the day, they had me go to the set and stand next to Matt Crane. And I didn't even know these people. And I'm like, okay. And they're like, now turn to the side. And, and I'm thinking, what does this have to do with my character, Joy Lamont, And it turns out they were in their heads making her a Corey. So it worked.
That must have been really flat. First of all, tough job standing next to Matt Crane all day.
Oh, I know.
Secondly, must be really flattering that they were going to tie you to the core families and also, did you have much interaction with Nancy? Would she pop on? Was she on the show at the time?
At the time, she was not on the show. I did not know the history at all of Sandy and Cecile.
Oh.
And then the weird thing about that was Maggie before me was a baby.
Right.
So
she was raised by Sandy and his second wife, not Cecile. If I remember.
Right.
I remember when she was a baby. So.
You remember, because I still didn't know. I think like my fourth or fifth day of shooting, I had scenes with Sandy. Because nice. My character was in jail because I was sneaking into a home. And I think that's how they introduced my character. Like I was this strange girl into someone's home, and I was sitting there, and turns out I was Sandy's daughter. So that's how that all came about. And then it just kind of snowballed from there. And yep. So then Maggie, after I left, became a brunette 4 times. So, and now I have no hair. So there you go.
Well, your sense of humor is pretty strong. I mean, how are you doing these days? You've been open about your journey and your battles online, and I'm just wondering, how are you feeling today?
I'm doing actually really, really well. You probably hear my dog Ralphie. He's barking. I apologize.
Bring him on. We love pets here. We would love
Ralphie is my child, basically. But my husband's traveling, so he'll be popping in at some point, and I'm sure that's probably what he hears. But it was hard in August because I was considered a person that was terminal. I was stage 4 cancer. So that's, sorry. That is what really, that floored me. I never expected that. So, August 4th, I was told I had cancer. August 8th, I was told I was stage 4, and was in the hospital. I experienced my first chemo like 4 days later. But nothing prepares you for that. And so you kind of sit there and you go through all those feelings of everything. And I wasn't supposed to get to the point where I am today. I was supposed to just get chemo, get treatment, and do the best they could to treat it, but I never was supposed to be able to have surgery. So that was huge. That was my Christmas miracle of all time, because I ended up, my numbers went into a range where they could perform surgery on me. I was in the hospital over Christmas. Actually, I should say Christmas Eve. I was in the hospital for 4 days. I left Christmas morning. So, and now, you know, they do the blood tests and everything. So I had to have 2 more chemos, one coming up this Thursday.
Okay.
And they said that'll be my 8th cycle. So that's my last chemo until necessary. But every 21 days, I will go through another IV for a medicine called Avastin. So I have moments where I am vibrant and strong, and, you know, and then there's other moments where it'll just hit me and I'm tired, but I just keep going forward. And I try to explain to everybody that's going through something that, you know, you have to be positive, but
Right.
I mean, you really do. And the awareness of what I'm learning and what I'm going through, I think is important, because there is a vaccine that can help called HPV vaccine. And that actually will, you know, kind of, I can't say it's going to cure or, you know, make sure no one gets cancer, but it actually, you probably won't be going through what I'm going through, you know? So it's a lot to take in, but I'm doing great. You know, I'm here.
I
Are
mean,
you trying any of the special diets that they sometimes, you know, macrobiotic or any, what is your path as far as nutrition? Are you?
Nutrition, you know, at the beginning, I wasn't able to eat hardly at all because I had masses on my stomach that were pushing on my organs that no one knew. So I have endocervical adeno, but I had a mass on my cervix that was huge. And then they found more masses. So for me, it was literally boost and ensure, you know, that's all they could get me to do. And it got to a point where they're like, whatever you're hungry for, eat it. Eat it. I don't care if it's pizza. I don't care what it is. You need to get it in there. But my nutrition, it's hard for me because I do love sweets so much. And to go through the holidays and then, you know, this all happened to me and I had to go through Halloween, you know, Thanksgiving, Christmas, you know, all these great food times, you know, pumpkin spice time. I mean, come on. And I, you know, luckily I got my appetite back. I'm now just getting into the mode where, okay, Robyn, you really need to cut out on the sweets now. The holiday's over. And get myself back into that sort of vibe of eating healthy. But I mean, I'll be honest, I've never been one of those big healthy eaters. I want to be. I just haven't been.
you look good,
Thank you.
and you've got a great smile, and I feel all this positive energy coming from you. Do you feel that because of your time in front of the camera, that you have a platform to help other people who are either going through what you're going through or have a family member going through it? And does that help empower you?
That completely empowers me. I feel that I am blessed number one, with the fact of, you know, the positivity that I do naturally have. I've always been an optimistic person, and I'm lucky for that, you know, because I always have hope, you know, and I feel that if I can help someone else, you know, whether it be one person or be millions or be 1,000 or 100, it doesn't matter to me. As long as I can get someone's eyes open, that's a huge thing. And that'll keep me fighting, you know, for sure. That's, you know, just being able to let everyone know what it is that I'm going through. I mean, there are people going through so many different diseases, you know, and different things. And whether it's a family member or yourself, you know, it's a good knowledge to have of, even if you're a family member, of how to deal with someone, you know, what I feel, you know, some days I'm going to be sad. Some days I'm going to be bawling. And it's worse because I'm an actress. I'm overly dramatic. So my poor husband. But I think if you can just help someone or do something to help somebody and give knowledge of what they can do, I think that'll definitely push me to fight.
Right. That's great. And you're also known from like some horror movies as well. How did you come into that genre, and which fan base is more passionate, soap opera fans or kind of the Scream Queen fans?
Well, that's a very interesting question, because they're very similar, you know.
Passionate.
Yeah, very. But it's just, I guess, how do I put it? The horror genre, I've always loved horror movies. Always. I have never, you know, shied away from watching a horror movie. So for me, I really wanted to see what it was all about on the other side, you know, to be an actor in it. Now, I don't do nudity, so naturally I had to be a killer, usually. Or a dumb blonde every now and then. I think I only ever played a dumb blonde once, maybe. I don't know. But I had a great time, and it was so amazing for me to see the special effects aspect. That's what really I wanted to see. Sure. It's amazing what they can do. And I was just floored by it. And I think what's neat about the horror fans is they will watch, you know, but they will repeatedly watch, you know, and then they'll ask you, well, how'd they do that where you like were holding up someone's head, or, you know, because there's so much that goes into a horror movie. There's so much that goes into everything as far as what you see on screen. But the aspect of horror movies, I think truly, before CGI and all that stuff, that's the stuff I love. I love the real, like, I like seeing the corn syrup blood and all that. And it's amazing, you know, all the work that goes into that. But, you know, soap fans, they believe you are that character. Now, in a horror movie, they don't believe I'm going to kill them in real life. But soap fans, I would constantly be asked, like, oh, how could you do that to Tomas? Or why'd you kill Carlo? Or, you know, and what they didn't realize was I was shooting, like when they would be outside the studio, I'd be shooting something that was from like 2.5 weeks ago. Right. So I was like, what are they talking about? Because I shot today that I was with Tomas, you know, so I don't know. But it's, I think both sets of fans are very passionate about what they like, and a pleasure. Actually, I've never come across anyone that's nasty or anything. I know people were upset I killed Carlo, but then he came back as twins. Yep. So it was okay. I shot him in the head. He came back as twins.
Tom Christopher, he's a real nice guy, huh?
Oh, that I was so starstruck.
Yeah.
My first day working with him, I was like, oh, are you kidding me? Because I didn't know who he was. Like, as far as I didn't know who was playing Carlo. I saw the script, but I didn't meet these people, you know? So, and when I did the screen test, I was by myself. Like, I wasn't with an actor screen testing. Someone was reading the lines and I was doing that because it was such a rushed thing. But Tom, when I saw him, I nearly fell to my knees. I was like, that's Hawkman from Buck Rogers.
Oh, okay. All right.
Like
Cool.
a huge Buck Rogers fan. And I was just like, this is my uncle? Hawkman is my uncle.
Nice, nice.
That was huge. And it kind of all ironically ties in also with horror movies for me, because the first horror convention where I signed autographs, Gil Gerard was there.
Oh, so all
And-
of Rogers in the 25th century.
And I've met him today on a show I worked on. So yeah.
Oh, so you know, see, and I just was like, oh, this is wonderful. Buck Rogers, you know. So yeah, that was my first really big starstruck thing. And then I went to the Emmys.
Sure.
And I was a deer in headlights. I mean,
they had just gone to prime time then, so I think that it wasn't like a luncheon in New York. I mean, it was always in New York, but it wasn't just a luncheon in the afternoon. It was like prime time, and the ratings first year in '91, they went through the roof. They were like the second highest rated show that week of all.
Wow.
It was in June, but still the second highest rated, and that was amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was crazy. And I remember I went up to, oh, I forget. I went up to like 3 people from Santa Barbara, and I was like, you know, going, can I get your autograph? And my dress came from Value City, and my mom was a seamstress, so she switched the dress for me. My dress only cost like $3 for that, because I got the prom dresses on sale. And then she switched them. So, but yeah, I mean, it was just a lot of fun.
Yeah. It was an amazing golden age. Are you in touch with any co-stars from any of the shows that you worked on?
Yes. You know, Christine Tucci.
Sure. Amanda.
I love Christine. We always were friends and hung out, and you know, she is such a sweet person and so talented. Yeah. Diego, of course, Diego Serrano.
Yeah. Another sweetheart.
Oh, he's wonderful. And you know, both of them have reached out to me, you know, and that meant a lot. That really did. Tanya Walker.
Yep.
I mean, my aunt, come on, Aunt Alex. So, you know, and several of them, like Amy Carlson, you know, I don't speak to her often or something, but every now and then she pops up. You know, there's always people that are there. I miss Charles Keating. You know, that really was one that bothered me. That is no longer with us. That was my buddy. But yeah, the outpouring love and prayers and support I'm getting from fellow co-stars is very nice. Also people behind the scenes. So it was really, you know, as much as I'm going through all these horrible things, it takes me away literally to another world, because then I can just forget about things for a while. And how are you doing? You know, and just keeping in touch with some friends that I haven't talked to for ages, but yeah, it's nice.
I mean, that's the great thing about social media is that, I mean, there are a lot of things that aren't so great about it, but when you can like instantly connect with someone from years ago, it's actually pretty cool.
Well, it's neat because I am in touch with my friends from like kindergarten, you know, and stuff like that. And it's also nice because I do have a lot of family in Pennsylvania, but I have a sister that's in California.
Mhm.
And, you know, I have a whole other side. My father's side is from Iowa. So, you know, I don't get to see everyone often, especially during a pandemic. And then on top of that, having cancer, I can't see everybody.
Are there things because of COVID and the pandemic that you have to be extra mindful of?
Yes. Well, I mean, it's still the same as what all of us are going through.
Right.
It's just, I literally can't go to the grocery store. I can't, and, you know, I have to be very cautious if it's a place where a lot of people are going to be going through, and, you know,
Right.
if I, you know, I walk the dog and stuff, I don't wear a mask and stuff. And, you know, part of me is like, I've got cancer, I'm going to live and I'm going to be positive and just, you know, take it from there. So it's that sort of thing, but I mean, we're all going through it.
Yeah.
We all are. And I think that's what is so hard about this pandemic. It's not going through cancer during a pandemic, because there are other people going through other things too. But this affects everybody. Whether you have an illness or not, you have to be cautious. So, you know, I'm hoping it stops soon. I mean, you know, and I bought all these cute masks, but I find myself wearing the paper ones because at the hospital and everything, that's what I was told, you know, and I've been told that the paper, like the medical ones, are the ones that'll work best for me.
Oh, good. Okay, good.
So that's something good to know, you know, but I do have really cute masks that I don't get to wear.
And those are rockin' earrings. Where did you get those?
Oh, thank you. I don't know. I think I got them at the Loft.
Okay.
I think that's what it's called, the Loft. I think I got those like, and you know what? I found them. They've been sitting in a box that I haven't opened for like 2 years. So they've been here for a while. I just never. They were on sale though, apparently, because there was a sale tag.
Was there anything of your characters from One Life or anything of Maggie's that you took with you? Sometimes they let people buy their wardrobe at half off or something, or is there a prop that kind of fell into your purse?
You know, it's funny you say that, because Another World did have where they would let the actors buy stuff.
Yeah.
On sale. I bought a whole bunch of stuff that wasn't even for my character. I bought stuff that was other people's character stuff because I was playing this teenager, and you know, they kind of watched what I wore even off camera and everything. So it was my chance to get some really like fancy soap stuff, because I wasn't the character that took off her earring to answer the phone, you know. So I bought like blazers and suits and some jewelry and, you know, fun stuff.
I think Robyn Strasser had that perfected on One Life to Live. She might not have been on when you were there, but
yes, she was. And she was, that's why I brought it up, because that's exactly who I think of. No one did it better.
She was a diva Dorian Lord was a diva in like the late 70s, long before Alexis and all those other primetime divas came on. She's just amazing.
And the way she took her earring off to answer the phone.
Yeah.
And she always had these lips and everything. And she would just do it like, you know, I mean, it was just, I don't know how she did it, but she did it. She would like reach over and take it off and be like, hello. You know,
there was a time where that show was going through some changes. And one day Dorian like burst into the back of a boardroom to like take over a company wearing a big hat. And I thought, okay, they know what they're doing. They know
Yes.
what they're doing because this is a soap opera. It sounds like you really understand the genre. Was there ever any other opportunities or screen tests at any of the West Coast soaps or any of the New York ones, which unfortunately are all gone now? We only have 4 now.
Yes, let's see. I mean, there were several that I was contacted about. Let's see, Loving
Oh,
was,
sure.
but that was, New York. I mainly was a New York girl, that was it. Bold and the Beautiful at one point, when they were trying to find a Kristen, that was,
Yep.
I nearly went in for that. But I ended up doing something else at the time because during all this, I still was singing and I was recording also a CD, and then I also did Broadway and stuff. So it was, there was always something going on. Plus, I got to a point where I was almost burned out. I just needed a break, and but there were several shows. Passions was one that contacted me, and I, with my love of horror and everything,
Sure.
I should have done it, but that was one. I mean, there were several. So many of us would jump. I went from ABC to NBC, but there are several that have gone through the whole kit and caboodle, but I would love to do it again. I miss acting. I do. And Maggie, though, Maggie was a really good character for me because it was basically written how I am.
Yeah.
I'm quirky and goofy. And so when it's said in the script, like, I roll, obviously. But yeah.
And you mentioned earlier working with Ginger Rogers. Hello. I heard she did everything Fred Astaire did, only backwards and in heels.
Oh, she was amazing. I did a show called Miss Moffat.
Mm-hmm.
And with a Broadway show, they usually find a place to open to kind of do a screening before it goes to Broadway type of thing. Almost like a pilot would be for shows,
Right.
TV shows. But it was called Miss Moffat. It was directed by Joshua Logan, who did South Pacific. So I was in that play with her, and we were told, stay away from her, don't bother her, all this stuff. And you know what? I had to sing with her and act with her and stuff. And I just one day knocked on her dressing room door and ended up, I would go in and talk to her. She showed me a time step, and boy, was she beautiful. Stunning. I mean, everything Hollywood glamour that you would think of was her. She was so classy, but so gracious. And when she would move on stage, her character wasn't dancing in the show. It was about a school teacher, and she just was so graceful the way she moved. You could tell that she was a dancer, she just floated.
There's something about when dancers aren't dancing, they're dancers anyway, just because of the way they walk, enter a room.
Yes.
Just carry their body. It's fascinating.
It really is. And I'm a person that I never took acting lessons. So for me, I like people watch. Right. And I usually can pick out she's a ballerina just by the way a person stands, because they usually stand with their feet kind of outward sometimes. Or you can tell who's a model, I mean, there are people, you can tell that some people have been trained in certain things. But she was, she's one of the prettiest people I've ever seen, ever in person. Stunning.
Yeah. When did you work with her?
Oh my gosh. Let's see. 80s. I was only 8 or 9. I was a kid.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And she was wonderful. And she loved kids. I don't know why they said that, because she loved children, but I think they wanted to give her her privacy. And Joshua Logan was another one we weren't supposed to talk to. And I took it upon myself to curtsy to him when he walked in the
You
building.
as a little kid. I mean, my goodness, you could get away with it. Good for you for doing it, because
I was gutsy. I was a tomboy.
And I also think sometimes they make those, restrictions and proclamations because they're erring on the side of maybe something they've heard, and then
Right.
the person they're saying it about really might not know every time that people have been instructed, to not look at them. And Annie, I mean, my gosh, what a great role to have played. There's so many famous, Andrew McArdle, Sarah Jessica Parker, so many. I think one time there was something on TV I saw where like a bunch of them like reunited or something.
Well, it was funny because I knew Allison Smith.
Yes, her.
But I didn't know her until I was on the soap opera. Like, it was so funny because she played Annie and stuff, and you would think our paths would have crossed at some point, with that. But I mean, that is the ultimate young child female role. Just like Oliver is for males, for kids, and the discipline that you get from theater prepares you. If you're interested in going into any other aspect of acting, I highly recommend theater. I love theater, but I mean, it just really prepares you, because you're not able to cut and retake. It's all, and that was kind of my niche, was memorization and being kind of a one take wonder, because I was like, it's got to work this time, you got to go, and you can't keep retaking.
Sure. I mean, the New York shows were famous for having a lot of Broadway actors, tape their show during the day and then go off and do Broadway at night. I mean, the soaps paid the bills while they...
I did that with One Life to Live. I was doing One Life to Live, and then I go and I did Metro on Broadway.
Wow.
So it was, that's when they brought my character back again. So that, but I don't know. I mean, it was something that was just in me, where I wanted to constantly work. I wanted to do things that I enjoyed, and when I wasn't working, I was doing charity events. So like when I was just doing the soap, I'd do the soap during the week. We'd have off on the weekends, but I would fly out somewhere to do, Make-A-Wish, or,
Sure.
A blind association.
In Los Angeles in the 90s, I mean, there were events, it seemed like 3-4 nights a week sometimes. There was just always something going on. And I think that changed a lot with social media. Certainly it's changed now. But the way soaps are done today, there's like, you go to set, they give you the blocking, and then you tape it. Like, that's it. There's not a lot of rehearsal. You rehearse on your own. There's not a dry blocking. There's none of that. They just tell you this is where you're going to be on that line, and then you shoot it. So I think when you're ready, and throwing your hat in the ring for these 4 shows in LA, are you in Los Angeles?
I'm actually in the Chicago area right now.
Oh, okay.
And it's like I was meant to be here, because my team of doctors here are amazing. So
okay, that's good.
Perfect.
That's good.
Yes.
I was just going to say soaps today, like anyone with a theater background would do well, because, or the shows rather, would be lucky to have them, because you basically walk onto set, shoot it, and then you're done. You mentioned going to like 2 a.m. They're all out by 5 o'clock now, and they've done multiple shows within that one day.
Yeah, so, and it's amazing. I think, it all comes down to the discipline.
Yeah.
The thing people, I guess a lot of people don't understand, is that when you think of a soap, it's not like a sitcom. You don't have all week to practice.
Right.
Each day you're shooting a different thing.
Right.
So I was memorizing my lines a lot of times, 5 minutes before, type of thing. I'd say, Diego, let's run this. And I would memorize it right then and there. And you get so used to who you're working with, who your scenes are going to be with pretty much most of the time. So you kind of know how they're going to say certain lines or certain things, and as long as you know your cue line to start your ramble, you're good.
Absolutely. It must be pretty cold in Chicago. Are you getting that big storm that's going around the country?
You know what? I love snow. I do. I just, I love it. And I was so excited because for the first time in a very long time, number one, it snowed. Number two, I was able to walk Ralphie a little bit, because I haven't had the energy to do it. And I got to feel snow. So I was really happy.
Sounds great.
I'm one that's like, yep, snow me in. As long as I have some good movies, snow me in.
Have you thought about an official blog or podcast or anything that you would want to start up with a bit more structure to it to help people? Certainly, I jump around a lot.
That's okay. I do too.
And remember earlier when you said this? I do. Have you thought about a blog or a podcast to talk about your experiences and?
Yeah, there are some things that I'm kind of thinking about. I'm thinking about doing a self-help book.
Right.
To help people understand from the get-go what I've been through. I'd like to, when this pandemic ends, I would like to actually do some speaking engagements on this. But obviously we're where we are. But yeah, I would love to do a podcast or something along those lines. I think it would be helpful. And I think there are so many different questions people have for me and just for the whole experience in general. Not necessarily just because I was on a soap opera or something, but I think people need to hear exactly, it's okay. It's okay to say, I have cancer and this is what it is. It's not something to be ashamed of, and I think so many people are afraid to open up, and I'm an open book. So I'm willing to share the whole experience. I did some video messages for fans and stuff early on. Because I have a chest port that they actually use to do my chemo. So what they do is they'll put a very large needle in there and my IV will go through there and stuff. And I think, I did video messages where I have IVs and whatever. And I'm like, I don't care. This is how I am, I mean, you can't expect me to always have these earrings and stuff.
Sometimes we see on television, even on primetime medical dramas, characters just kind of, I don't know, they have, it doesn't always show the real story. So I think that any time that you can show the real story, and one thing that publishers and producers want to know is how popular a speaker can be, and between the horror genre and the soap genre where people know you, I think those would be valuable and attractive tools to have in the arsenal.
Yeah.
Makes no sense.
Yeah. It's such a strange thing to go through what I've been through and what I'm still going through. Yeah. And it's hard to really express so much in words, but I'm finding a way. And I mean, you just got to keep going, and sharing what I can is I think it's important. I think it's important for people to know that there is a vaccine out there that can help with some of the cancer. There is, help, and it's not always bad. I sit and watch horror movies when I'm getting chemo. People seem to think that you just like fall asleep or something. I do not. I'm sitting there because I think you're so pumped up. You're like,
Right.
Can't run away now. Gotta go through it. So I sit and I watch horror movies.
Wow.
Yeah, it's my chance to watch horror movies. My husband doesn't like horror movies. So
That's ironic. How did you guys meet?
I went home to see my family, and my husband was with a friend of his. They were having like this business meeting, and I walked in with some friends from high school, and the person he was with was like, I think that's Robyn Griggs. and they asked who I was with, if that's, if it was me, and yes. And the funny thing is my husband didn't have a clue, and he's a golf professional.
Oh, nice.
A PGA golf professional, and I'm a terrible golfer. And he didn't really say anything. He just kind of stared at me, I guess. And we ended up talking for like 45 minutes about Atari and baseball, softball, my favorite football team, the Chiefs, and who are going to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And didn't exchange numbers or anything. And he went his way, I went my way. And, I asked my friend, I'm like, who was that guy? And said, oh, that's Mark Wiley. And I'm like, oh, so I did my little sleuth thing, and I found him on Facebook. And I made sure I had a really hot picture as my profile too. And I sent him an email because he was so refreshing. He did not care one iota about anything to do with acting, never even asked me anything about it.
Nice.
And it was nice. And I said, thank you. And then he replied back, because I said something about golf lessons, of course. And he replied back, I was smart.
I always wanted to know how to play golf. Yeah. How to golf. Can't even say
always wanted to play golf. And then he replied back with something like, well, if you ever are looking for a nice guy or something, and all I responded with was my phone number. And then we went out, and that was it. I know it was great. But I literally moved in. Like, we went out and I never left. The poor guy didn't have a chance. I just was there. And
I love that.
Let's see. We got married. I met him in September, and we got married the following year, July 4th.
Nice.
So we both were old enough that, we knew. I mean, we just instantly hit it off. And it's just weird we got married on Independence Day, but there's always fireworks. So.
Yeah. And yeah. Well, it sounds like an eagle of a love story, if I have my golf terms correct.
Yeah. Yes. Albatross.
Does anyone else, any of our attendees, do you have any questions for Robyn that we can ask or that you'd like to ask?
Linda can kind of relate to you a lot. I think she was relating because of her brother. Did you want to say anything, Linda? Or...
I was just going to say my brother was diagnosed with terminal cancer 3 years ago, and he went through a year of chemo, and when it quit working, kind of as a Hail Mary, they gave him Keytruda. And Keytruda is not, it's usually used for a first line of defense. It's not really used after chemo has failed. But they used that, and he got about 11 good months out of that. And then this past October, not October of 2019, the Keytruda quit working. So they put him on a different immunotherapy for 3 months. It didn't work. And they went to another immunotherapy for 3 months and it didn't work. So last May, they told him he had about 8 months left. And then this past October, they quit all treatments. And now they said in October, he had like 2 to 3 months to live. But he's got the port. And I think the coolest thing I would say is, there's a lot of good neighbors and friends that step up when you don't really think they necessarily will. You also find occasionally that there's people that you just know will be in your corner and they're not necessarily there, because I think that it's something that people are, like you said, they're afraid to talk about. I mean, when you're sitting there and they say, well, what is his diagnosis? And you look at them and say, he probably isn't going to be here a month from now, which is realistic. And I think that puts people off because they don't necessarily get that that's what your reality is. I think that's one of the weirdest things about the whole get up, because if you deal with it, and I'm just a caretaker. I don't have cancer. I'm just a caretaker. But I don't think people always get that your situation is, you have no choices in this. This is your reality. This is your reality. I get up and go to the bathroom at night, and sometimes on your way back into the bathroom, you stop in the hallway to just see is he still breathing? And if you, seriously, I'm not trying to be sarcastic. I have a slightly goofy sense of humor, but that's what reality is when you're dealing with cancer 24 hours a day, and in this case, for 3 years.
Wow.
Bless him. He was only given a year to live. He's well beyond that. But I just don't think people sometimes realize that this isn't something that goes away when you go to bed at night, or that this is something that, like right now, you were talking about this. You can't go to the grocery store. I can't go anywhere where there's people.
Yeah.
When I walk, I don't wear a mask because I live outside of the city. And my neighbors, and that if I walk with a neighbor, I'm walking in the street, they're walking on the sidewalks. Again, I don't live in the city. Sometimes we don't even have sidewalks. So it's not really an issue, But the only people that come into the house are basically a hospice nurse and a hospice aide. And his cancer, he has lung cancer. He also has cancer of the lymph nodes to such a degree that he has no use of his left arm anymore because of the lymphoma in the left arm. And the aid comes for no purpose other than the wounds in his arm, which is actually where the cancer is actually coming through. And I think the biggest thing that, like I said, and you kind of alluded to this, is I don't know if people just, they don't necessarily catch the reality that this is not something that you can set aside when you go to bed or at night. Or like you said, you had surgery right at Christmas. You can't sit there and say, oh, well, it's Christmas, so for the next 4 days, this doesn't exist. Or it's Turkey Day, so this doesn't exist today. And I think that's and again, I have wonderful neighbors, wonderful friends. This is not a critique on anybody, but I think people think that you can kind of put this in a little compartment, put it away for a few hours. It doesn't work that way.
No, not at all. And God bless him, and God bless you. The caretakers go through a lot. Right?
Sometimes he goes through a lot too. He eats my cooking.
I applaud you, and it's like I often think about what my husband goes through, because like tomorrow I'll be probably worn out. Right. Like this is a lot of energy for me. But the caretaker goes through a lot. By the way, I love your dog.
Thank you. He's walking on my bed. There's 3 of them in the room, but that's the only one on the bed.
Oh, so cute.
He's a Papillon.
Well, my Ralphie is a Yorkie Papillon.
Oh yeah, they're great.
They're
really
wonderful.
athletic. Yeah.
they're too smart though.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I will. I think the thing is, yep. Like we were saying, you can't just hide it.
Right.
You can't just put it away. Right. It's always on my mind. Right. You know, there are times that there are things that I think I can do and I try to do them and I can't.
Right.
There are times that, you know, people are getting together, maybe, you know, like to go to lunch or something. I can't.
Exactly.
And you know, but I'm here and
right.
I'm going to do whatever I can. You know, right. I'm doing what the doctors tell me. It's working. But like you're saying with your brother, you know, there is a possibility where it comes to a time where something doesn't work. But,
right.
You know, and you've got to be open to that. You have
right.
to.
And he's to that point.
Yeah. And
yeah,
you
he's
have
definitely to that point.
Right. And it's like, you have to realize, yeah, it's not, you know, like a cold. It's
right,
not
exactly.
Just you have to go through a lot, and people don't really understand.
I mean, they understand it in their head, but they don't understand it in reality.
Yeah, the reality of it is not what you see on TV.
You know, on TV, I mean, they did on One Life to Live, I believe they did Vicky with the heart attack or whatever, and you know, she held the pillow to her chest for whatever, but then once that was over with, she had no recurring symptoms. And, and I think I just think that I don't think people necessarily understand. Well, my mom fully understood. My mom died like 6 months after he was diagnosed, and she had told me a number of times, she says, I hope I die before he does, because she says, I don't want to sit here and watch him lie on the couch and die.
Yeah, I mean, it's a hard reality.
You're talking a 90-year-old woman, you know.
And I think I'm very fortunate to have been on these shows and to have such a strong support system.
Right.
And but also with, you know, my husband and my family, we both come from very large families, and I'll tell you what, everyone has just rallied around, you know, supported me in any way they can. And and it means a lot, and it keeps you smiling, you know.
Yes.
And there are moments that I, you know, regardless of what I'm going through, I can kind of forget for a moment. Like doing these interviews helps me a lot, you know. And but it's there. Yeah. It's there, you know.
One quick funny thing to tell you. I have a neighbor that has Alzheimer's, and she apparently inadvertently hit her button or whatever. So 2 weeks ago, they had fire trucks, ambulances, the whole thing next door, like 12 o'clock at night. And I went over because I've got contact information for her kids, and also she knows me. So I had my mask on and, you know, all that. And I only walked far enough to talk to the paramedics. But anyway, because they realized her age, when they sent the ambulances and the other equipment, they didn't have the sirens on. The flip side is they parked all of this in front of my house. So, yeah. So I have all these medical things in front of my house at, you know, close to midnight. So the next morning when I got up, I looked at my brother and I says, Ed, again, I have a bad sense of humor. I looked at Ed and I said, with all that went on last night, I says, I wonder how many neighbors think that you are deceased. You are no longer with us.
This happened to me, actually.
He looked at me, and honest to God, he says, I don't know how many have brought casseroles so far. And I thought that was just such a great line, you know, and I just thought it was a great line, you know.
Well, that happened to me. Actually, my neighbor, there was in the middle of the night, and I'm talking like 2, 3 in the morning, there was an ambulance and a fire truck, I believe, at one time, with their lights on, no sirens, but all the lights on.
Well, these were off, thank God.
And I got a text from my neighbor, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" And I'm like, I'm fine. I'm just curious what's going on.
I
I understand that.
Yeah, I just thought it was funny. I mean, you got to keep some sense of humor or you go crazy.
Lynn,
Oh
Absolutely.
yeah, you have to. You have to keep positive.
it definitely is funny, and a sense of humor that's a little, I don't want to say dark, but just a little bit,
Mine's a little dark. I know that.
I know, a little bit leaning into dark it can help get us through
Yes.
the worst of times in life. Robyn, I want to
Yes.
thank you so much. We asked for under an hour and we've taken over.
Oh,
That's because I have a big mouth.
Well, that's why we want you coming every chat, because we have big mouths too. I'm really so thankful that you took your time, took the time today to do this, because I think it's been very helpful for people. And hopefully we've reminded you that a soap fan is a fan for life. And we want to stay in touch and keep your followers and our fans abreast of what is going on in your life and your journey. And if there's any way we can help and reach out to people and give you some ideas, whatever we can do, we'd love to continue to help.
Well, thank you so much. It was an honor to be on this and to be with all of you. And I'm gonna keep fighting and doing what I'm doing.
Good.
And
Good.
And I will keep everyone posted as to what's going on. February 4th, which is Thursday, is my next cycle.
We'll all be
So-
thoughts.
Yeah.
We'll keep
Well,
this up.
thank you very much. I appreciate that. And, I'm just going to keep moving forward and pushing through.
Awesome.
Good luck.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank
Thank
you.
you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank
And
you.
good luck